Naan bread is one of those things that whenever you go for an Indian takeaway or an Indian restaurant, it's the first thing I order. I order 3 or 4 different types and, think about that, and then I'll order all the other things.
Oh, really? I go the other way around. I see this as a side, but that's good.
A side? This is the main course for me. And if you do it properly, it can be really, really delicious. And it's just a matter of grabbing some really good flour. I'm using some bread flour or pizza dough flour. It's got a stronger protein content, so it makes it a lot stronger and makes you a lovely dough. Now, what I've got here is some yeast, which is already activated, and I activated it in some water, a little bit of flour in there, and you can see it's really, really light and fluffy. Just like me. There we go. In that goes, and that's going to make this dough light and fluffy.
Nice.
There we go, just like me. I got that in first. And I'm going to add some warm water. And I'm adding warm water because I want it to prove. I want everything to sort of rise up and to prove nice and gently. Now, you could put this in a mixer, but I reckon doing it by hand like this is just as good. And, for people who are really scared about making bread, this is a great way to start. There's lots of different bread recipes you can make that are really, really easy. And once you've made it a couple of times, especially this naan bread, you'll be making bread every second week. And I grew up in a part of Malaysia and I had an Indian ama looking after me, so I really feel close to Indian food. But because it's your thing and I have to give you something, I've let you cook the lovely Indian meal and I'm going to cook the bread, which is what a lot of Australians really, really love. And I'll just dust it with some flour. And this is the bit, if you had a mixer, you would let it go in the hook for a couple of minutes till it starts to knead. But you can see it's just an easy process of just pushing your palm into it and pushing it forward. And then you turn it and then let it go again. And if it does get a little bit sticky, you just dust it with a little bit of flour and keep that going. You can see once you've kneaded it for a little bit, it starts to become firmer, which is what I'm looking for. A nice firm dough, but it's holding together beautifully, a little dust of flour. And if you can pass me that bowl back again.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to help you, Chef.
But that's basically the dough there. Now, what I would do is let this prove, which means all the gases start to release in there, it becomes nice and light and fluffy, and will double in size. A great way to do that, cover it with cling film or plastic over the top of it and put it in a warm place. And then once it's proved, I've gone ahead and done this because we want to move along. We don't want to wait an hour.
I like this. You planned ahead. I like it.
Exactly.
And it has doubled in size.
It
Huge.
has.
Yeah.
And the other thing is have a little touch of it. It's really, really soft, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So what I'll do is dust it with a little bit of flour like this, and I take it out of the bowl and onto the board. And if you can pass me a knife that's just over there, just on the side there, I'm going to cut it into 4. This is the next stage of it. I cut it into 4 or 6 if you want, or 8, however many you want.
Like a big naan. This is your whole meal, according to you. Yeah.
Well, I'm not worrying about a curry. We're not going to have curries. I think curries are overrated and naan bread is underrated. I think we should put a lot more effort into that. Now, that looks really nice, doesn't it?
It does.
See, I'm going to give this to you.
Okay.
And I want you to do the same thing. Just gently move it around with your fingers till you get that little bowl. Tuck it underneath with your fingers and tuck it into itself.
I feel like I'm with my baranani.
Here
we make a lot of roti at home. That's what we make.
Roti?
Roti, yeah. The naan, we tend to do it traditionally with a proper oven.
Okay.
But I'm liking your version.
But not all of us have one of those proper ovens, do we?
I don't have
one.
There we go. I don't want to lard it.
You don't? Do you have a barbecue?
I do. You could.
A barbecue is a great way of making this
bread
at home.
You can come over and show me. Are you content with that?
Look at that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I've had the baranani over me telling me how to do this.
There we go. Onto the tray. Yes. Now, what I like to do is let that prove again till it comes up. And what I do is I want to keep it nice and moist. So a little trick that I like to do is I've got a plastic bag that I put it in there. I'm not trying to kill it or anything and suffocate it. I'm actually keeping it nice and moist underneath. And you can see that it rises up beautifully, doesn't it? Now, while I'm doing this, I want you to grate some of that halloumi cheese, a little bit of garlic in there, maybe some pepper, and I've got some chives and some coriander. Just grate it all and just mix it through nice and gently. It doesn't need to be too fancy. And you can see the dough is really nice and soft, and that's what I'm looking for. And just being really, really delicate.
So you don't use a rolling pin?
No, I don't.
No.
I like to use the Italian method, which is just stretch it out. That's how we do our pizzas.
Yes.
And you just pat it around like this and let it stretch out a little bit. And then I just pop it in front here and let it rest for a little bit. It will want to shrink in a little bit, but then I let it rest for a bit and then let it pull out again. Now, you've got the cheese there, and I'll show you, this is the fun bit. I'm going to grab some of that cheese there and put it straight in here. I was going to wait for you to have it all together, but I thought we'll just rip straight into it.
Shall I continue, Chef?
If you put some chives on there, just a little sprinkle of chives on there, and some coriander as well.
Loving Thyme, fresh herbs,
Exactly. This is the other way of doing it.
Would you like some garlic?
Bring it all together. We'll put the garlic on it later on.
At the end, I understand.
And you can see I just pinch it around like that, and then I start to flatten it out.
That's going to all melt and go gooey. So when I was a child and we used to go out for Indian food, this was the first thing I'd order, a cheese naan.
Now, I just pat that like that, and you can see this is going to be lovely. You're getting excited about this, aren't you?
I am.
Now,
I am.
I've got my my crepe pan over here, and you can see it's at the right temperature. You can see the thermo signal is solid red, so I know it's ready to go. And I'm using a crepe pan because it's nice and flat and easy to use and gives me a great deal of surface area as well. And I can dry fry on it because I just put it straight on here. I don't need any oil or any butter or ghee or anything. On it goes, and just push it around like that. And then in a couple of minutes, it'll start to get nice and golden, bubble up a little bit. We'll turn it over, and then once it's ready, we'll put some of these on and bring the whole thing together.
Sounds good.
Okay, the last one's just coming off, and they're really, really hot. Plenty of ghee on there.
Yeah, you love the ghee, don't you?
Butter if you want, but ghee gives it a lovely, lovely flavour.
It does.
Smear that around
Yes,
all
I
over the
will.
place.
Look at it melting because it's a hot naan.
Love it.
Yeah,
I just
it is
want to tuck into
beautiful.
it.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to just grab this whole thing like this, slide it off onto the bench here, and then, Preeya, I'm going to cut it in half.
May I sprinkle first, Chef? I just feel like that's missing.
Yeah, you may. I'm glad you did. And I'll just cut these in half like this because this is going to be like a full meal. If you're getting through this, look at that.
Wow.
Lots of cheese in there, herbs in there as well. And I'll just spread these out like this. Look at that.
Beautiful.
You can imagine this being thrown down onto the table in front of everyone. Got ghee all over my hands here.
Yeah, he's a happy man. He's rubbing it on his body. Loves it.
Exactly. It's just lovely. I'll put some chives on the top there. A bit of greenery, some coriander on the top there as well. Coming together beautifully. And I've got this lovely chutney. I'm going to pour that into there. Actually, I'll give it to you if you want to put that in there.
Yes, I can.
Now, I've got this lovely dish here with these condiments in here.
Love it.
What do you call this?
This, well, you can take a thali. Normally you'll have all these little containers there that you'll dip your things into. I'm a bit jealous that you've got this. You've probably brought it from home, pre-prepared.
There's nothing to be jealous about.
Nothing.
This is about you and I
glorious.
sharing this lovely food. I'm going to get this this naan bread here, cut it into a couple of pieces here like this.
Melted halloumi, the herbs. I'm excited.
Here we go. Grab that.
Okay.
And we'll just dip it into the chutney if you want. You can dip yours
Okay,
in the
I'll go
chutney.
first. Let me go first.
I'm just going to... Oh, how's that?
That is so good. The melted cheese, the herbs, loving the condiments. This is really, really yummy.
It is. I'm
Big fan of this. I'm definitely going to use this as the side to my chickpea curry. 100% that's happening.
You might want to use this as a side, but I don't think there's going to be any left. This is fantastic.
It is.
I reckon it's a meal on its own, but with a delicious chickpea curry, I think it will be outstanding.
It could take it to the next level.
It will take your curry to the next level. Outstanding.